To you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. And it is the beginning of a new liturgical year in the Wiccan religion. And welcome also to the new year. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can communicate with me directly by typing your question or comment into whatever platform you may be watching on, and it will appear here in my chat room and we can talk directly. And again, today is the first day of the liturgical new year. Today is the festival of Samhain. Um, Many people think of Samhain as being October 31st, and it's considered to begin at sundown on October 31st, but the date is actually November 1st. Always has been, at least since it was first recorded with a date. And it is one of the four great um, Celtic holidays. The beginning of winter, the turn of the year. And the ancient Celtic peoples regarded the day as beginning at sundown and the year as beginning with winter. And hello to Lynn in the chat room. It's good to see you. And that's why this festival has these qualities. Um, and so Samhain continues until sundown today. And today, however, we focus on the second part of that holiday. The first part is letting go of the old. The second part is embracing the new. Last night, I had the great pleasure of attending um, an all-night vigil held by the Corellian First Priesthood, Lord Phoenix, and Lady Alyssa. Hello to Arlene in the chat room. It's good to see you. I did not stay quite all night, but I stayed a good bit of it, and it was a lovely experience. There were a number of rituals aimed at releasing the old year and embracing the new. Hello to Green Skull in the chat room, who says, hello, Grandpa. Good to see you. And Green Skull says, remember me. I do not at this moment remember you under the name Green Skull. Can you remind me who you are? I'm sure I do remember you. And hello to Kazan in the chat room. Hello to Lynn. Um, but sometimes the names throw me, especially now that I am a grandpa and getting older. But it's good to see you. Oh, we talk about candles. Yes, I do. I do remember that. Yay! And yeah, there were lots of candles last night. Um, so this is quite appropriate, and it's good to see you, Green Skull. There are there was also a messaging circle. Lady Alyssa led the messaging circle, following the style of Lady Crystal. She did a beautiful job. It was a lovely evening. Lots of good company, lots of good people. And of course, for many people, yesterday was Halloween, which is closely related to Samhain. And some of the fun things that I had were a video of my grandson, Xander, trick-or-treating in his blow-up dinosaur costume. Hello to Mary in the chat room. And also of my grandnephews, um, Calvin and Evan, in their ghost and bat costumes. Um, I believe Calvin was the bat and Evan was the ghost, and their mother was a rainbow-colored skeleton, which was very cool. Um, so lots of fun things going on. Um, so the Ikahana part of my Samhain was quite delightful. But boy, was I tired this morning. I have to say, I was never a partier. But boy, I'm definitely not a partier now. um, by the time I finally went to sleep, I went to sleep for a long time. And Green Skull asks if I trick or treated. No, I did not. Nor, to the best of my knowledge, did we have anyone here at the house. Although I'm on the second floor, I wouldn't necessarily know. Um, but it certainly didn't seem to be a wave of people. Um, but as I say, I did go to the overnight vigil, and that was quite entertaining and very spiritual. It was very good. Every hour on the hour, Lord Phoenix did the ancestor rosary ritual, which was quite good. There was a ritual at midnight. There was the message circle. There was lots of good conversation. It was a good time. So, my question to you, which I mean, you can put an answer into the chat room if you like, but it's really a rhetorical question: is what do you want to see in this new liturgical year? It is as much a time for transformation. Oh, and Arlene, who was there last night, says it was a phenomenal time. It was. Arlene was there with her cat Patches, who was quite prominent, and it was a lovely time. But what do you want to see in the new liturgical year? Yesterday we were really focusing on what we want to leave behind, but think about the things you want to develop in your life, um, and how you wish to move forward. Because this is the time to set that next pattern of growth, the next thing that you want to see. We're still in the chaos moment, and you can create your new pattern quite easily. Of course, all moments are ultimately the chaos moment. All moments allow us to restructure our lives if we choose to do so, but some are a little easier than others, and some are culturally observed, like New Year's holidays. And at the calendrical New Year, there is, of course, the stereotype of making a New Year's resolution that lasts for 6 weeks. Um, but let's not do that. Let's think of the things we actually want to manifest in our lives that we will stick with. And Arlene says, for myself, I want to get all of my bills paid off and development of eternal love Watan Shrine. Wonderful goals. May it be so. One of the things I'm looking at, among many other projects, and I'm looking at doing a number of books in this coming year. As you know, I've just recently finished the Book of the Dead, about to make the order for that. Um, and it should come in more or less November 11th when it was promised. Um, but I'm looking at writing books that are dedicated to a single subject and maybe a little shorter than my degree books were for that reason, but more in depth examinations of specific subjects. And if anyone has any suggestions of books they'd like to see, I'm certainly open to suggestions of things to put on that list. The Book of the Dead was the first, but certainly will not be the last. Because, writing and teaching are among the main things that I do. Another thing I want to involve myself in um, is the idea of the cornucopia project, which is basically local food drives to help your local, particularly your local pagan, but your local community in general. And I'm hoping to work with Pure Sanctuary Temple here in Danville um, to move forward with local food drives and to start collecting food for our local pagan community and also anyone that we find who is in need of help. Because food insecurity can be a big thing for people. Now that I am an old man and a disabled man, which apparently I legally am now, um, although I am currently in a good position, I have had a clear view of food insecurity, and it's quite obvious why this is an issue for many people in society. It takes quite a lot. And Green Skull, is this like a donation? Well, yes. If you're in the Danville area and you come to one of our events, bring some food to donate, or contact us and donate to the food drive. Or cash donations are also a possibility. Um, Admittedly, we're only just setting it up, so I don't have an address to send a cash donation to just yet. We'll have to talk to Lord Jason. But um, as we start doing more events, we're hoping to have people start to bring items of non-perishable food that can be put back for those who are in need. It is important to focus on non-perishable food because you don't know necessarily when you're going to find that person in need. If you have things that are canned or packaged and are going to last for a while, they could be donated in October but not needed till February, and still be good. Whereas something like fresh fruit has to be used immediately. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad donation, but we really want to focus on things that are going to last uh, for a while. And I don't know. I don't know what the trajectory of this is going to be. It's only just being put together, but I think it's a very worthwhile cause. And as I say, I'm going to be doing it here in Danville with Pure Sanctuary Temple, but I'd like to see people start doing it across the country. I think our pagan community in particular, certainly not exclusively, would benefit from more food pantries, more food drives, more food sources. Because, a lot of pagans, certainly not all of us, but many of us do live rather on the edge. And we're watching a time of many interesting experiences unfolding in the world, which could tend to upset that edge a little bit. And I think that we need to be prepared for possible upheavals, possible difficulties, even just plain old inflation that will make things difficult for the poorer members of our communities. And Green Skull asks what the time is in my country. It's about a quarter after noon, so it's right in the middle of the day. And Arlene says, please make sure to also collect for the babies, such as formula and baby food. Many people forget about them. And yes, that I think would be that's a very important point, Arlene. Many of the people who are in need have babies and or small children, and they have special food needs. And so we want to keep that in mind as we're doing this. Also, things like diapers might not hurt anything, even though they're not a food item, but they could be useful for families that are in need. And I think it's very important for us to start this year, which has so many interesting things going on and so many interesting predictions about it, thinking about how to make sure our community is secure, even in insecure times. And for some of us, even the most secure times can still be insecure. So I think this is a good use of time. It certainly is not the only thing worth focusing on. There are so many things worth focusing on, but it is something I plan to put a certain amount of my time to. And the overall project is Project Cornucopia. And Lord Jason and I will be talking about how to implement it here locally. We'll probably be talking a little bit about it on Saturday at the event that's being planned. And I'm sure you'll hear me talk about it here much more often in future, along with many other projects. And it is definitely winter time here now. At present, we are at 42 degrees, so it's not so terribly bad. No, it will not be created into an order. Arlene is asking. It is not a tradition-specific project necessarily. It's a community project. Um, However, orders may become involved in it, um, or at least that's my anticipation. But I don't think we want to limit it um, any more than circumstances require. So we want to keep it open to as many people as possible. And going forward, I'm hoping that we will see many people become involved. I'm hoping we'll see. Arlene says it would be good for the paladins. Yes, it would. It's the kind of things that the paladins were created for. Um, and So, if any paladins are interested in involving themselves, that they're welcome to contact me, particularly here in the Danville area. We do have a couple of paladins here. Um, and the the um, the running details are still taking shape, but right now it's basically if you're coming to local events, consider bringing a donation, and we will see getting them to people who will benefit from them. And there'll be a lot more said about it in future. And the Paladins are an interesting order. They were created to be a social service order, and we will we'll see if any of them choose to involve themselves. That would certainly be lovely. There are people all over, well, all over the world, and um, our viewership in this program is all over the world, and the Corellian tradition is all over the world, and the pagan community is all over the world. So we're not necessarily talking um, just Danville, Illinois, just the United States. We're talking about something that can be everywhere, and arguably should be. Years ago, Abby Willowroot, who was a high priestess in a number of traditions, including the Corellian tradition, um, and I think primarily the Dianic tradition, if I remember correctly. Lovely, lovely woman, good friend. Did the Goddess 2000 project, which was one of the first real international projects in the pagan community, and a huge success. And she really laid out, I think, how to do something like that well. Um, she worked with a number of people, including Sir Edward, who was working very closely with her in that project. And in the end, the Goddess 2000 project lived up to its goal of a goddess on every block. There were Goddess 2000 art displays all around the U.S. and several other countries. It was beautiful, and not terribly well remembered, unfortunately, but beautiful. And I think I certainly would love to see it better remembered than it currently is. But I think one of the things that has caused it to be maybe less well remembered is that the internet was only just getting going at that time. To us, it seemed well established, but looking back, that was because we were in Chicago, and many people I knew at that time didn't even have internet yet, um, outside of the big cities, and consequently, there's not as much online coverage of it still out there to be found, or that was done at the time. Um, but you can still find some accounts of it. It was quite remarkable. But this is a similar concept, something where people are working together in a low pressure social situation on a common goal that is not political, that is not sectarian. It's not has little room for division. It's all about helping people who are in need of greater food security, and I think it's a very good cause, and one that you'll hear me talk a lot more about. And still trying to figure out how to upload a variety of backgrounds onto my screen here. I'm enjoying this background, but I have so many of my own that I would like to see included. And the weird thing is that I have been able to upload, but cannot seem to use some of those backgrounds. So that's one of my research projects for today. Um, how to have a wider range of backgrounds. I also am working on my first story for my Patreon. I did put up The Raven, which I had recited a few years ago for the Samhain holiday. I'm looking at Ligeia being the first story, um, and we are going to get that as quickly as I can get that. I do find that it's probably going to be about a half hour long. That's what I expect it to come out to, which means it's going to take a little bit of filming, but we're getting it done. It's going to be good. Oh, and Arlene says that she loved my rendition of The Raven. Thank you, Arlene. I enjoyed doing it. The Raven has been considered one of the best English poems, and I think that it is. Um, in fact, I understand that Poe wrote it partly with that anticipation, how to write a good poem. Um, but it's a very beautiful, very stirring piece of literature, simply because of how it's written, not only what it's written about. He used the language beautifully in general, but especially there. Poe, because he tended to write material that we think of as being spooky or dealing with unusual subject matter, he tends to be relegated to that genre as a writer. But he really was a very fine writer in general. And, this often happens. Um, People tend to limit their perception of a thing to only the most obvious characterization of it. And that often happens with different kinds of artists. If they're known for one particular thing, sometimes you don't notice that they excel at many things. Um, I'm not quite sure what else to say about that, but it's something that comes into my mind. And as we start our new year, I think it's very important for us to remember that many things have many aspects. Pretty much everything has many aspects. Not quite everything, but maybe everything, depending on how you look at it. And how you look at it can drastically change your opinion of it, can drastically change what you see in it. I find that for myself in my teachings metaphysically, that aspect of how you're looking at a thing is a vitally important issue. When we talk about things like incarnation, for example, incarnation can range from being a highly individualized experience as we experience it in our physical state of incarnation, or it can be universal because it is. All things are incarnate in one way or another. And hello to Marissa in the chat room. It's good to see you, Marissa. And it is it's very important to remember, certainly to notice things at their face value, but not to leave them there. Because very often there's more. Now, I do also say, pay attention to your first impression. If you meet a person and you get a good impression of them, you should probably pay attention to that. If you meet a person and you get a dubious impression of them, you should probably pay attention to that. But you may also want to look further. Um, and with all people, with all things, there's going to be more to see than just what's on the surface. And one of the things I think about life is is trying to see it from many angles. Um, and hello to Elisa in the chat room. We have Marisa and Elisa. It's good to see you both. And it it life is gray. It's not black or white. We can see it as black or white depending on the angle from which we see it. Um, and it can be useful to have that judgment as long as we don't forget it's not the only thing there. One of the things I actually have a high appreciation for black and white film. That's partly my age. In fact, I was born when color television was just becoming a thing, and black and white television was still standard, and black and white films were still being released. I grew up in an era where color had become standard, but you still saw black and white film constantly being rerun on television and so forth. And Green Skull says that they must go now. Thank you for joining us, Green Skull. It's good to see you. Um, and I'm very grateful for that. I see a lot of people now enjoy seeing black and white films colorized, and I kind of get that. And sometimes it's good. I've been watching on Instagram, for example, a channel called History Colorized, where they take old historical, mostly street films, short things that people did of everyday life and colorize them. And it does make them seem more immediate. But particularly with film, the black and white did certain things. They used that color scale to add a lot of emotion and a lot of focus into the visuals in many of those films that you lose if you colorize it. In the same way that color films often use color to add emotional or other content into their film that you would lose if you were to make it black and white. Green Skull says, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great day too, Green Skull. Thank you for coming. And I think that it's important to appreciate things as you find them sometimes, as well as to see them differently. And as we go forward in this new year, I'm hoping this program will help to examine many different subjects from many different angles, and to help you to see what you already know in greater focus, and also to learn some new things you might not have thought about. And with that, I see that we've come to the end of our half hour. And I want to thank you for being here. And I once again want to wish you a happy new year for our new liturgical year. And I hope that you get everything that you consciously are wishing for. And hello to Michelle in the chat room, who comes to us from Flemington, New Jersey. And let us close with our prayer, as we commonly do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we ask you to help us to be clear in our goals and our desires in life. Help us to see ourselves clearly, the things that we need, the things that will benefit us, and help us to know the difference between what we truly want and what we only think we want. Help us to focus our new year toward those things we truly want, and help us to achieve them. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you. And we know that you are always with us, for we dwell in one another's hearts. But from respect, we thank you for your presence and your aid now and always, and may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you for being here, and I hope to see you again tomorrow, and may you be blessed now and always. And Michelle says, so mote it be, and I will say, so mote it be.